Everybody. I have just muted everybody, and so we can begin our service. Welcome to Paint Branch Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Rachel Christensen, the minister here, and we will begin with some music from David Chapman, our music director. He will be playing Rejuvenation by Robin Stokes.
Good morning and welcome to Paint Branch Unitarian Universalist Church. Thank you, David, for that welcoming music. Although we're here virtually, we're joyful to be here together. We hope that everyone is staying safe in our days of social distancing. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, wherever your ancestors come from, whatever your race, age, gender identification, or political affiliation, whatever device you're being piped in on, we are glad that you chose to join this conversation this morning. My name is Polly Pettit, and I am one of a team of worship associates who collaborates with our minister and staff on Sunday services. I think we're getting accustomed to this, but let's brush up on our Zoom skills, find that mute button, the microphone icon, and make sure you are muted. Find the bubble for your chat screen, which is in different places depending on what kind of device you're using. You can set your own pace for reading the chats by scrolling up or down. You may also be able to change what you see on the screen from speaker to gallery view, which let you see more than one person at a time, unless a meeting host is trying to spotlight the speaker. Just a reminder that we are recording on Facebook Live and Zoom. Right now in chat, please say how many people are in attendance via your connection, one if it's just you. That way we can get a sense of how many are attending the service today. And if you're visiting us for the first or second time, please let us know by emailing our office assistant or Reverend Rachel at minister@pbuuc.org. After the service, we'll have coffee hour breakout rooms again. Stay on Zoom and you'll be grouped at random with several other participants, unless you would like to remain in the main discussion with Reverend Rachel. We have a few announcements this morning. Our annual meeting for Paint Branch will be held on Sunday, June 14th, using Zoom from noon to 2 p.m. We will be using the waiting room feature so that we can document who arrives into the meeting for quorum and voting purposes. This will take a little time, so please plan on arriving early. Arriving at 11:30 a.m. is not too soon. We will be using an online voting system to vote for board members, nominating committee, and legacy fund members. Details about the agenda have been mailed to all members this week. If you have questions or concerns about using Zoom, we encourage you to get the help you need. We can coach you through your concerns, or you can find tutorials on YouTube and Zoom website. At their May 2020 meeting, the board approved a mechanism for people to join us in membership at Paint Branch without actually having to go to the church at this time of virus and uncertainty. Please contact Reverend Rachel if you're ready to join us as members. You must become a member by today if you are to be eligible to vote in our annual meeting on June 14th. From Renee Katz and Don Gerson of Next Steps Reimagined, the board is clear that no matter what the circumstances are, our wooden deck must be repaired or replaced no later than the summer of 2021. Further, we believe that there is still a need to assess the congregation's readiness and capacity for a capital campaign, even though our congregational life looks a lot different now. Therefore, we are planning to proceed with next steps discussions, all on Zoom from June 6th through June 20th, culminating in a service on June 21st, 2020. Watch for more information and invitation to participate in these discussions. Thank you.
Welcome. My name is Reverend Rachel Christensen. I am the minister here at Paint Branch, and I'm glad you're here with us today. Once again, we have a spectacular day outside, a little cool, but the sunshine is bright and beautiful, and it's wonderful to be here with you. I know some of you are sitting outside enjoying this glorious morning. I know I'll be out there later today. We've been celebrating our Paint Branch community in online Sunday services for some time now. It has become almost normal. We try new things each week, it seems, as we experiment, and we learn new ways to make it more meaningful and more participatory for you. In a few weeks, we'll be trying an online poll during the worship service. We will experiment and learn new ways to make it better. This is our 12th worship service together on Zoom, and thank you for being here. It is your being here that creates our community, our connections, and reminds us that we are loved. Our Board of Trustees, on the advice of the Continuity Committee that is looking into such things, has announced that we do not expect to reopen our sanctuary until this time next year. This has been hard for some of us to hear. And yet, as I read the recommendations for gatherings and for churches in particular, they are recommending we meet at no more than 25% capacity, maintain distance from each other, and take other steps to assure minimal transmission of the virus. 25 people in our sanctuary is not very many. And as Unitarian Universalists, Most of us do not come to church for things like communion or absolution or a blessing from the priest. We come for the community, for gathering together to think through meaning and purpose in our lives, our role in the community and the world at large, to tell stories, to laugh together. We come to see each other. And I think we do that pretty well here on Zoom, and much better than we could in just a small gathering of a few of us in the sanctuary. As much as we would like to be in that space and its joy, its beauty, now is not the time. If the guidelines change, if we get more clarity about how to avoid transmission, safety in groups, vaccines, treatments, when it becomes clear that it will be safe to come together again in the meeting house, then we will all celebrate and gather again in our beloved space, in a true ingathering like no other. Until then, I'll see you here on Zoom in the land of experimentation, trying new things each week. This has been a terrible week in our country. George Floyd was apparently killed by police officers kneeling on his neck after responding to a call about a counterfeit $20 bill. George Floyd was handcuffed at the time with his hands behind his back, lying on the pavement, and the officer was kneeling on him. He did not need to die. Christian Cooper, a Black man, asked a white woman, Amy Cooper, to leash her dog in Central Park. Amy Cooper called the police on him, saying he was an African-American man threatening her life. She was quite willing to lie, to put him at risk at the hands of the police, even putting panic in her voice while talking to 911. In comments to CNN, as the video spread widely, Amy Cooper said she wanted to publicly, quote, publicly apologize to everyone. I am not a racist. I did not mean to harm that man in any way, unquote, adding that she didn't mean any harm to the African-American community. And yet that call saying, an African-American man is threatening me and my dog. This after Ahmaud Arbery was killed by two white men who followed him through the neighborhood in Georgia, saying they thought he'd been part of a series of break-ins in the neighborhood. And Philando Castile, shot by the police in a routine traffic stop, also in Minneapolis. And after Eric Garner, who died after being put in a chokehold by police for selling loose cigarettes. There is an outside level of force, of the willing and intentional use of force against Black men, and we are killing them. This must stop. I ask you to join me in a spirit of prayer or meditation. Spirit of life, love, and the holy, this must stop. We must stop killing Black men. Our collective racism, implicit bias, and structural prejudice makes it unsafe to be Black in our streets and in our cities. We must stop. We must pause to recognize that people in the United States have been taught that Black people and Black neighborhoods are more dangerous. We must aggressively and actively work to change that. It creates a level of risk that is astonishing and unacceptable and heartbreaking. May we realize that this is exactly who we are, unless or until we change it, as a country, as a culture, in every town and neighborhood in which we live. May we grieve the loss of fathers and sons, of husbands and lovers, of human beings struggling to be human in ordinary and extraordinary ways. Let us grieve again the arrogance, the culture of privilege and superiority that allows this raw claim of power shown by the police, by the woman in Central Park, and countless other moments of dismissal of humanity. Let us grieve these losses and others. Let us white people stand with Black and brown people. Let them not face this alone. Let each of us white people work to see and name racism in ourselves and in the interactions around us, and work to become more aware of the daily, countless moments of risk and insult borne by Black people. May we remember, even as I failed to do this week, to check in with our Black friends, neighbors, congregants, and colleagues as to how they are doing this week, this day, in the face of this fresh reminder of risk and loss. Be still with me for a moment as we grieve this loss. Breathe in, breathe out, and notice where in your body you are feeling this grief. Breathe into that place with tenderness and sorrow, and just let it flow. Breathe in and breathe out. Let your breath flow through your body and then return to the universe, allowing yourself to be held in this space of grief. May it be so, and amen.
Thank you, Rachel. I would like to light the chalice to begin the service. Please join me in these words. We light the chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is the church of the open mind, the helping hands, the loving heart, and the radiant spirit. Encendamos este caliz para celebrar el Unitarismo Universalismo. Esta es la iglesia de la mente abierta, de las manos amigas, del amor, del corazón, y del espíritu radiante. Our special music this morning will be sung by Jackie Walpole, a choir member who first joined Paint Branch in 1993. The piece is I Seek the Spirit of a Child, arranged by R.V. Williams, words by C.G. Seaburg.
I seek the spirit of a child, the child who meets life naturally, the child who sings the world alive and greets the morning sun with glee. Children are real beyond all heart. May I see joy's a gift to our heart. I seek the freedom of a child who loves instinctively, who lights our day with just a smile and shines that light on all we see. Children are real beyond all fears. May I see hope's a gift to our tears. I seek the wonder of a child who sees delightfully, now clowns in cloud, now golden sun, imaginations true and free. Children are real beyond all lies. May I see faith's a gift to our eyes.
Thank you, Jackie. That was beautiful. The religious education program, as it was known then, was the magnet that drew us to Paint Branch. Our daughter was 4 years old and had come home from daycare and recited a Christian prayer before dinner. We thought, I guess it's time to stop avoiding the issue and take charge of her religious or non-religious upbringing. If we were going to establish a spiritual or ethical foundation for our daughter, we wanted it to be more than the Bible school style Sunday school classes that we had both experienced growing up. We were intrigued by what we knew of Unitarian Universalism, so we investigated the RE curriculum on the UUA website. Wow, this looked promising. Inclusive, relevant, stimulating, with values in line with our own. So we called Paint Branch first just because we'd driven by and admired the lovely green setting in the woods. Was that ever a life-changing phone call? Who should pick up the phone but Marge Don, the current Director of Religious Education, the absolute perfect person to make us excited about the approach and curriculum that PBUUC was taking with their children and youth. Jocelyn didn't know it at the time, but she was at the start of being taught how to be curious about her religious beliefs. Unlike so many who come out of other denominations that discourage and sometimes even punish a child for questioning religious doctrine, she would be encouraged to ask why. Jocelyn was in the RE program from the preschool class through Our Whole Lives, the coming of age curriculum, their adventurous middle school trip to the Mother Church in Boston, and high school youth group. During her coming of age ceremony at church, she and other 13-year-olds shared where they were on their spiritual journeys and what they had come to believe. It was a proud moment to hear the personal theologies, intriguingly different where God was concerned, but built solidly on our UU principles. I'll always be grateful for the generous and creative teachings of our RE teachers and staff. It was my hope for my daughter that a good education would help her develop a lifelong love of learning. Her religious education here at PBUUC was an important element in that. It's my understanding that all humans are innately curious, but that as we age, we develop a different kind of curiosity that is the love of learning itself. My younger self might well ask, what will happen if I poke this fork into this electrical socket? But my more mature self will live longer and enjoy life more if I ask, what did Walt Whitman mean by his poem, I Sing the Body Electric? Maybe a question for the poetry circle. Since my professional work has been cut back since being in quarantine, I've had more time to embrace my inner Alice in Wonderland. There are birds I'd never seen or heard that I've tried to identify. I've introduced myself to a neighbor I'd never met before, discovered gardens in our neighborhood that I've walked by a zillion times before and never noticed. I've taken a meditation class, read fiction by James Baldwin and nonfiction by Bill Bryson. even allowed myself to try a puzzle or two. And yes, I've learned the life-saving skill of Zoom. I am fortunate not to be ill or to have to go to a dangerous workplace or wait in endless lines for food that I cannot afford to pay for. I am not fearful for having someone call the police because I am considered threatening. I am privileged to have the resources and the time to pause and wonder and explore new things. I hope to be open to more learning. It can take so many forms, some wondrous, and these days, some terribly difficult. I hope we as a congregation will continue to make religious exploration in all its forms a priority for our youth and curious adults. And now let us join our hearts and minds in a time of prayer and meditation. As we gather in community, we carry with us life's hurts and its great joys. Sometimes sharing these joys and concerns in community can help. You are now welcome to submit your joys and sorrows by entering them into the chat bar. The intonation is "You Are the New Day," composed by John David. May we hold these and one another in love and kindness so that this congregation may be a source of strength and comfort, courage and hope in these days and weeks to come.
Thank you, Polly. Good morning, my good people. I'm Chris McCann, your religious educator. Today is a hard and special day. Hard because it is my last Sunday with you all. Special because I get to honor some amazing people, our RE volunteers and our kids. I would like to name our volunteers, and hopefully I can get through this. And this is no mere list. This is a litany of love and deep respect. Our RE teachers this year were Jen Wright, Christianese, Kathy Darlington, Sunny Katz, Clark Ritz, Kathy Bartolomeo, Andy McIntyre, Paul Wester, Janet Overton, Trisha Most, Aaron Rice, Zoe Pappas, and in the nursery, Alice Tyler and Anita Williams. Our AL teachers were Sunny Katz, Clark Ritz, and Christianese. Our RE team is Melissa Graham, Ebony Contreras, Trisha Most, Kathy Darlington, Tina Van Pelt, and Reese Myerden. This past year, we saw a revival of our adult RE program, thanks to Leo Jones and his lovely wife and helper, Sabrina Jones. Our CLC volunteers and their fearless leaders, Carmelita Carter Sykes and Carol Carter Walker. Additionally, Carmelita began a family Spanish class for paint branchers, and I hope you all will assist her in keeping that going. It's been an honor to serve alongside all of you. We've begun to build something great, and I know that the building will continue. For my young friends, what an adventure we've all had in our time together. The program we created was built not for you, but with you. And you have been by far the greatest collaborators I have known. We learned 3 big words: stewardship, communitarianism, and resilience. The way you've embraced and practiced these values is stunning. You decided it would be a good idea to build a new bridge over the creek. We listened, and I promise you it will happen. You shared your ideas about how we might use the downstairs of the meeting house, from the fantastic to the practical, and showed all of us the value of your ideas. You have shown all of us that you are wise, committed, and caring, and you are the finest Unitarian Universalists I have ever met. I celebrate with you what we've built, and I want you all to know that every last one of you is an extraordinary person, and you are well worth knowing. I was going to read a sort of long-winded quote that would likely have made sense to the adults and lost many of you. So instead, I'll quote the Muppets, who sang, "The fact is, there's nothing out there you can't do. Even Santa Claus believes in you." I love you all beyond the telling of it. Please join us as we sing hymn number 1020, Wo Ya Ya. The words will be shown on your screen. Thank you.
Diana.
Initially, today's service was going to be generally about learning and curiosity and religious education. Now our country is on fire. Literal blazes in cities across the country, the fire of fever of a pandemic, and the current occupant of the White House throwing lighter fluid on the pyre. My once general homily about learning and curiosity has necessarily turned more specific. The elementary school that I attended in the mid-70s had been forcibly integrated a few short years before I began attending. This is something that I did not know. It was just school. Teachers, friends, learning. I was an advanced reader and was sent to a special reading class. I asked my white teacher why several of my friends who read as well as I were not included in this special class. I was sent to the principal for backtalking. The principal, a Black man named Mr. Williams, asked for the names of my friends. Of course, those friends were all Black, and I understood that. I did not understand that was exactly why they were not included. Mr. Williams told me, "You ask important questions, and I would like very much if you would keep asking important questions. And when you get sent here for talking back, we will read together." We read together a lot. Mr. Williams encouraged the asking of all manner of important questions and taught me, as much as one can teach an elementary age child, not to judge the questions or myself for asking them. Mr. Williams asked the Black school librarian, whose name is lost to me now, to give me unfettered access to the whole library, even the 4th grade books, and asked her to help me choose what to read. I read every book written by or about a person of color in that library. I fell in love with George Washington Carver, Benjamin Banneker, and Langston Hughes, whose poetry was accessible even to an elementary age child. When I finished those books, I was given a list for the public library. And how lucky I count myself that these two people captured my curiosity and imagination, knowing that I was growing up in a town, in a school, populated by people all too eager to replace the curiosity of a child with their certainties about race. This Black principal and this Black librarian were among the first authority figures in my life outside of my home. They nurtured and protected my imagination, encouraged my curiosity. And yet, it was shamefully recent that I began to learn and understand the reality of racism. Like most white people, I believed that racism was action carried out by individual or collective bad people. Like most white people, I was unaware that racism is a system baked into our culture, allowing us to say that we are not racist because we do not participate in overtly racist acts. Like most white children, I was protected by my parents and the world at large from the realities of racism. I remained a protected child for far too long. In an email I sent to parents last week, I said, "The world has made it clear that Black and brown children are not too young to experience racism and its often deadly consequences. I want to make it clear that white children are not too young to learn about it. It's beyond time to stop protecting ourselves and our children from these realities and the ways white people perpetuate them, knowingly or not. It sticks in the throat to say, yes, I am racist. Yes, I have been taught to uphold white supremacy culture. Yes, I have so much to learn, and that learning will never end." And what do we do when that feeling of shame and uncertainty and wrongness comes up? We lean into curiosity. We become scientists of our own minds and our prejudices and biases, and we learn. Is it uncomfortable? Absolutely. And white people can afford some discomfort. We can afford to be awkward beginners. We can stop allowing worry about getting it right to get in the way of doing right. Our guilt and shame serve only us and staying in guilt and shame keep us small and shut down. Instead, we can engage our curiosity. We can ask important questions and keep asking them. We can allow the rigid adult certainty of all we've been taught and all we believe about ourselves as good people to dissolve into investigation and inquiry rather than shame and judgment. We can approach the hardest topics with a curious spirit and a mind full of wonder that learning never stops and opportunities to do and be better abound. As Dr. Cornel West says, try again, fail better.
Chris, you might not know it, but your last words about that video, for me, I couldn't hear them. I'm wondering if you could come back on and tell us what it was you were saying, because I think it might have some meaning now that we've seen that video.
I said, this is an anthem of resilience and curiosity, repeating the phrase, we ain't falling under, we are full of wonder.
Thank you. Letting me put you on the spot. And she didn't say this, but earlier she had told me that one of the things that the kids had said was, we want more music, but not more hymns. So here you go. Other kinds of music exist in the world, and it's meaningful too. Dr. Wayne Dyer said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. We have done a lot of learning and growing this year at Paint Branch. We are all learners and we are all teachers. Here in the last 3 months, we have learned how to use Zoom to maintain our community and gather together in worship services. We've had plenty of opportunities to approach these new challenges with anxiety. And most of us have managed to move from anxiety to curiosity, learning how to do new things, learning how to do things differently, and learning how to ask for help. This has been hard, but you as a community have risen to the challenge. You did it. You did a hard thing and remained flexible. You were supportive and forgiving when it didn't go exactly right. You brought new ideas and watched as we tried them out. Even last week, we tried singing Spirit of Life together, all unmuted, just to play with it. I loved it. It was terrible and chaotic, but I loved it. I think we should do it once a month, just for fun. But next time, I would not show the words, but instead suggest that we all go on gallery view so that we can see each other singing. We've done a few other hard things this year. We experienced a significant rupture in our community about a year ago, one of conflict and race, and some people left the church because of it. We adopted a new covenant of right relations and a disruptive behavior policy. We have all been teachers, and we have all been learners. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. We're going to do some additional hard things in the coming year. We're going to figure out how to be a community, a congregation, even though we probably won't be able to be in our wonderful building or all together for quite some time. We're going to find a new DRE, an interim DRE, to help us with religious education and help us discern our priorities and investment in religious education and families. We have hired a consultant, and we will meet with them in small groups and large groups about the rupture that happened this time last year. They will help us to understand what happened and the systemic elements that contributed to it, and then help us with some healing. We will meet with our capital fundraising consultant in small groups and large groups to help assess the appetite in the congregation for a significant capital improvements project. And we hope that some of us will use a Paint Branch facilitator to help work through conflicts when they occur. Some of us already have. All of these are hard things. Chris McCann said a few weeks ago that in times of challenge, we might find ourselves anxious. These are certainly times of challenge. We are faced every day with shifting news and a shifting understanding of reality and of our place in that reality. Anxiety puts us in a place of fear of what hasn't happened yet. And we can go down a rabbit hole of worry and dreaming up possible disasters. It often shows up as defensiveness in our conversations with others or as anger. It's not a place where much learning can happen. It's hard to hear new ideas. It's hard to hear about possibilities. Chris said that the flip side of anxiety is curiosity. Curiosity invites us into wonder. Curiosity is a place where I can listen to my own emotions and wonder why I did or said some particular thing. Curiosity invites us to learn how other people are feeling or doing things. Curiosity invites us to ask what might be possible or how we might get something done. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Curiosity is way less stressful than anxiety. When I am anxious, I feel it in my body. I feel it in the pit of my stomach. I feel it in my breathing, my heart rate, in my voice. I feel these things long before I can articulate that I am feeling anxious. My body knows before I do. But when I feel these things in my body, I have found that I can say, I wonder why I'm anxious. I think it is it is because of that thing. Once I can name it, it takes the power of the anxiety away for at least a little bit. And then I can move to curiosity, to learning, to dialogue, to greater understanding. I can try to see the bigger picture, to see how my actions affected another, to adopt some new ideas or ways of doing things. We are all teachers and we are all learners. We have to do some hard things this year, but we have done hard things before, and we know that we can do them. We can never again say that something is too hard, and so we cannot do it. May we never stop learning. May we celebrate, recognize, and applaud the learning, the doing, the curiosity that we have shown in this year. May we never stop growing, and may we never stop being curious. May it be so. And now I have a few people would like to say a few words of appreciation to Chris. First is Nori Mearden Ward. Nori?
I am here to say farewell from the children, those who Chris McCann impacts the most. Now, farewell doesn't necessarily mean goodbye, and it doesn't have to be sad. So I'm here to share the joyful parts of farewell. I'd like to thank Chris McCann for planning lessons with us and not for us, and listening to our opinions about those lessons. Also, thank you for treating us as equals and encouraging the congregation to do the same. Chris told us many times the reason she wanted more people to listen to us is because not only are we the future of UUA, but also the world. We look at the world differently and bring a different set of opinions. Thank you, Chris, for encouraging us to grow and fostering our self-esteem. And thank you for just being here. We hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Reese Mearden, and on behalf of the RE committee, I was asked to share a few words. So Chris McCann is amazing, and it's pretty obvious that we're going to miss her joy, her passion, and her kindness. Chris, you took care of our children, our families, and you challenged us to think differently about intergenerational worship. You helped us shift how we think about faith formation by planning with our children, not just for them. I'm not sure words can express how much I personally appreciate your making services at Paint Branch inclusive for everyone. Please know that you have touched each and every one of us, inspired us, and encouraged us. And while we will miss you, our beloved Chris McCann, we also want to wish you the best in all of your future endeavors. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. This is Tricia Most, another member of the RE committee. Through her creativity and flexibility, Chris McCann managed to engage kids in RE by providing programming that did not feel like a sixth day of school. I second everything Reese and Nori said. Chris's warmth and loving acceptance came through so clearly. In her story and conversations, and most importantly, when she asked the children of Paint Branch about their ideas and opinions. I hope that her way of treating children with appropriate respect has changed the way we think about the younger Paint Branchers in our congregation permanently. On behalf of the RE committee, I present to you our beloved Chris McCann, this fused glass chalice sun catcher made for you by Tina Van Pelt. It kind of shines and glimmers as you have shown your light to us. We thank you and appreciate you. We appreciate you and wish you all good things at River Road. In the meantime, we will wait until we can enjoy a future dinner with you at Sierra's Grill. Thank you.
We have a few other things that people wanted to say. Here's a little slideshow of some things that people sent in. Phil?
Can I just take a moment to say thank you? I can't say much because I'm about to ugly cry, but thank you all so very much. It's been my honor, privilege, and pleasure to be with all of you.
Holly, do we have the offering?
The mission of this church carries on in these uncertain times and is more important than ever. We are so grateful to have the financial support of our members and friends. Please give us generously as you are able. This Sunday's offering can be received using several methods that will be listed in the chat bar. Online donations through Breeze or via text, and email donations to the church office still work. David will play Berceuse or Lullaby, composed by A. Spenderoff.
Thank you for joining us today for service, for grieving, for celebrating, for saying goodbye, for being together. All of this is important. It's part of creating community and friendships and sustaining our hearts and our togetherness. After, we will sing Spirit of Life with the words, and we'll just get to sing at home and hear our own voices today, both verses, Spanish and English. And after Polly extinguishes the chalice, I will create breakout rooms for those of you who would like to go to a breakout room. But I invite you to stay in this room if you like. And my thought is to be able to talk about the events of this week primarily. So as you choose, and until we see each other again, thank you. David? Thank you, everybody. Here come the chat rooms.